big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Go to their website. We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you.
Good morning, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Delighted to welcome Taylor from Newcastle United Scotland supporters. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Steve. Morning. Thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, great to see you, mate. I am good, mate. Recovered from my birthday, another year older, another year wiser, maybe, maybe not. But yeah, thanks to everybody out there in the YouTube stratosphere for their best wishes, and those of you on social media wished us all the best as well. Had a cracking day, quiet one with family. But yeah, good to be back and looking forward to Newcastle taking on Bournemouth at St James's Park today. 3 points, that's all you really want for your birthday. But we are here to talk about Newcastle United Scotland supporters group. And Taylor, just, you know the way this works. Just really want to know a little bit about you, first of all. So, how long have you supported Newcastle?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So probably about 30 years now, yeah. So going back to when I was a youngster, it would have been during Keegan's days at Entertainers, so in the kind of early 90s. Probably my earliest memories are walking into my dad's bedroom, seeing him wear the blue McEwen's strip, so that was probably my earliest memory of a Newcastle strip. And then just Sky Sports come about, so everybody up in Scotland had an English team as well, because it was the Premier League. It was on the TV. It was where all the money was. And Newcastle also played Dundee United in the Fairs Cup when they won it a long time ago. So that was my dad's affiliation with Newcastle. So that's how it supported. It started with him. I grew up watching my dad watching Newcastle. Then I started, and then it's just kind of continued through the family. So yeah, my love affair's probably lasted about 30 years now, and hopefully it continues for a lot longer.
What an era to start supporting Newcastle, the entertainers. And I mean, this team at the moment, Eddie Howe's Newcastle United, it's drawn comparisons. Would you agree there's comparisons between the two?
100%. Well, I think we've scored 10 in the last 3 games and let in 7. So some might argue that actually Keegan's Eddie Howe in disguise, right? Yeah, it was that sexy football. It was always, we were going to score more than you. If you scored 4, we were going to score 5. So when you kind of grew up watching that sort of stuff, that's why they were called the entertainers, for a reason. It was that sexy football. We're going to go out, we're going to score more goals than you. But yeah, there's definitely similarities between the teams. I think last season we were really resolute and tight at the back. This season we've probably not been quite as tight at the back as what we have been. So yeah, probably see that's where the similarities are starting to come from. That we're probably shipping in quite a few goals, but we have got that ability to go and punish teams when we're playing on that front foot.
Yeah. So getting back to the Scotland supporters group, how long has that been going?
A year today. So it's actually our official first birthday today. We set up officially on the 17th of February 2023. So it's actually been a year today. I was set up on. Thanks, Steve. Thanks. I was set up on the back of me taking my daughter to our first match. So my daughter's birthday's in around January time. It's always quite difficult to get a present, right after Christmas. So I said to my partner, look, still want to take my daughter down to the football. Is now the time? And she finally gave me the green light and says, yeah, you can take the wee lass down to the football. So we managed to get tickets for Southampton semi-finals, second leg. So that would have been the 31st. So that was our very first match, was going to see Southampton in the semi-final, second leg. And what an atmosphere that was. That was like Benfica. It was rocking. You know, the stadium, you could feel it. There was something in the air that night. It was something special. So for that to be our first game, yeah, it was pretty special.
And is she hooked after that?
Oh yeah, she was hooked beforehand, but you know, once you get into the stadium and taste the atmosphere, it's just something else. It's just gripping. So yeah, she's definitely hooked. She's consistently asking me, "Have we got tickets in the ballot yet? Have we had any more luck? Have you managed to get them in the resale?" So yeah, she's always itching to get back down.
Fantastic. So you started up. How did you start it? Was it just the Facebook group?
Yeah, so it was actually my daughter's idea. So at the time, she was only 9. After the game, we were obviously buzzing. Probably important to say that, you know, there was a long time ago, Steve, I didn't actually think that I'd be able to share that experience with my daughter. Was actually take her to St James's Park and walk up those steps. So it was a pretty emotional day anyway. It always is when you're jumping on the train, you're going down, the music's on, you're getting in the zone of the football. I always get a little bit emotional, but that was kind of extra special because it was her first game, because of the emotion around the night as well. So it was pretty emotional. On the train back up the road, I remember she said to me, she seen me bouncing from one social media group to the other. I was probably checking out a bit of NUFC Matters, bouncing to the Black and White Vision, bouncing between the groups. And she said, "Why are you going from group to group?" I said, "Well, because this one's got this one's got that." And she come up with the idea, well, why don't you just create your own group? Stick all the stuff that you like into the one group, but actually we can maybe raise some money for charity while we're doing it as well. That's exactly what we did. We sat and thought about what we were going to do, how could we do this? And we set up a Facebook group on the 17th of February 2023. And to be honest, Steve, the first couple of weeks, it was just myself, my partner, a couple of my friends listening to me talking about Newcastle all day, all night, 7 days a week. And then it just kind of snowballed. So it kind of started quickly picking up. And within about 6 months, we'd probably become Scotland's largest Newcastle-based supporters group. So it grew really quickly. And we didn't expect it to kind of snowball and grow like it has. But it's been amazing. It's been an absolute incredible year. And it's all thanks to my daughter for kind of giving us the inspiration and the idea to do it.
Fantastic. That's a great story. Yeah, wonderful way of remembering it as well as time moves on. How many members have you got on the socials, on the Facebook group?
We're at about 650 now. So yeah, it was a bit of a slow burner to start with, but it's just gathering momentum. It's a real community, so we know that there is groups out there that have thousands of people in them. Some you pay to be a part of, some you don't. We're a free group. It's just a real good community. And the folks in the group will tell you that as well. There's no kind of drama. It's just a respectful group that people that want to get behind the lads, the lasses, and the young team as well. We don't just focus on the first team, but we focus on the development squads, the lasses, and give the latest updates in those. Do lots of competitions, give loads of stuff away for free as well. That's the aim of the game, is that we're going to produce some quality products, merchandise, and try and produce that at affordable prices for folks, and also give some money away to charity as well at the same time as we do it.
So those of you who are in the chat, good morning. You can see the Facebook group link. I've just stuck it in the chat there. I've also stuck it in the description for the video if you miss out on the live chat this morning. But yeah, give it a click. It costs nothing to join. Just give that Facebook group a follow and a join, and yeah, just be part of it. But obviously getting together with these people is something I guess that you've wanted to do. You've got an evening with Norberto Solano coming up, which you asked me to try and help with, and we've managed to get there. We've managed to do it. How's that been? How's the process been? For you for setting up the event and putting it together?
It's consumed me every moment of my days, my nights for the last couple of months. But it's been great. I've had great support from guys like yourself, Steve. Right, so professionals that have done this sort of stuff before, very calm and collected all the way through it, whilst I'm running about screaming fire in the background. But no, we've set it up from scratch. So I had the wild idea that we'd like to try and take this up a notch. So we'd launched our pin badges, our hats and scarves, and all the money to charity. But we want to try and take it up a notch and bring something closer to home for the Newcastle fans that are in Scotland. So we thought about a night that we can put on, do a bit of a fundraiser on behalf of Teenage Cancer Trust. And yeah, we managed to get the legend and the now Hall of Famer that is Nobby Solano to come up to Scotland to do us an evening with yourself, Steve. So yeah, really looking forward to it. But because we've created it from scratch, it's literally been a lot of kind of investment in terms of time, creating banners, posters, table decorations, the table plans, you name it. You know, no little detail has been spared. So it's going to be a really, really special night. We're sold out. I know everybody's really buzzing and looking forward to it. I know Nobby's looking forward to coming up as well. So yeah, really, really looking forward to have Nobby Solano in Dundee. It'll just be an absolute dream come true. And hopefully we can raise loads of money for Teenage Cancer Trust on the night as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a worthwhile cause, the Teenage Cancer Trust. I've done quite a bit for that over the years. Why that charity?
Yeah, so we have 4 charities that we work with, or we try and raise funds for. The first charity that we did, so we designed and devised our own pin badges, the logo that you just see come up on the screen there. And we sold those, and half of the money from each pin badge went to Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Association in Scotland. And then we decided actually there's probably a bit more that we can do for some other charities as well. So we reached out to some of our members and asked about charities that were important to them. Teenage Cancer Trust was one of those, so we've done some fundraising for them. But we've also done some fundraising for Great Ormond Street Hospital and the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation as well. So we've got our 2 new pin badges launching on Friday at our Nobby event. We're going to be raising funds off our new black and white badge, which says supporting the Sir Bobby Robson Foundation on it. And half the sales of those will go straight to the Bobby Robson Foundation. And we've also got pink ones that are going to be raising funds for Copperfield. So that's supporting the fight against breast cancer as well. So we've got 4 charities that we work with. They're all equally as important to us. And we do also make donations to Bruno's Magic Hat and in Newcastle as well. So they're another brilliant charity that's doing a lot of great work for the food bank. So big shout out to the work that they do, and happy to continue to support them where we can as well.
Great stuff. So what's your plans for the supporters club in Scotland? Have you got any other ideas, or are you just taking it week by week?
Yeah, we do have lots of ideas, but we're always looking for that kind of support, just to try and other people get involved, come up with other ideas. We have got a golf event that's going to be coming up, so a couple of our members are going to be getting together and discussing that after our Nobby event, looking to do a bit of a golf fundraiser. Not so good at golf, Steve, so I mean, I'll go, but I think I would end up being the bogey. You would draw the short straw if you got me and your team. We've been in contact with the club, so we're Matt at the fan liaison officer and the supporter services. We're looking to do a charity football match as well, see if we can do it against another supporters group. So if there's any other supporters groups out there that want to get in touch and take on NUSS in a charity football match, raise some brilliant funds for charity, then yeah, get in touch. And potentially do some more of these nights as well. So we really anticipate that the Nobby night is going to be fantastic. And if we can do some more of that sort of stuff as well, bring more legends up to Dundee and Scotland and raise more money for charity, yeah. But we've got lots planned, lots of stuff that I'll probably not give away just at this stage, Steve, to ruin the excitement. But yeah, there's lots in the pipeline coming up for the next year ahead.
There you go. Ian McKenna's donated £20 towards the cause, mate. So I will bring that up next week, mate. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Ian. Brilliant.
Great stuff. Yeah, from your point of view, Newcastle, as you said, 30 years, of your life spent supporting Newcastle. Plans for get-togethers? Is there anybody who you've met so far through the group over the last 12 months who you've said, "Oh, let's watch the match together"? Have you had a base or anything like that, or have you not done that yet? Because obviously we see it with a lot of the supporters groups who we've spoken to so far. Many of them in America, lots of support in America. Get together, they have a set bar, etc., to go and watch the matches in.
Yeah, so we have a thing on our page called Local Mags, and that is for Scotland. Could be quite rural, particularly as you start to head up north as well. So we do have a section called Local Mags where people are put in where their local area is for meeting up in that particular area, and then the chaps will put a post up and do a bit of a get together. So folks up in Aberdeen will meet. Some of the Dundee mags will meet, Fife mags will meet as well, and they'll do meetups in their kind of local areas. We did do a big, massive meetup for the Rangers game for Alan McGregor's testimonial in the pre-season, so that was fantastic. We all went through to Glasgow, had a big meetup, had a few beers, and we all went off to the game, so that was fantastic. But yeah, the amount of people that we probably met through the group, so guys like Johnny, Mark, guys that live in my local town that I potentially never went to the game with before. I'm now starting to go to the games regularly with them, with my daughter, whereas before we might have just been heading down on the train with kind of family and stuff. I would also say as well that there's probably a lot of people in the group, Steve, that I've never met, but I actually feel really connected with because of that kind of community feel. So I might never have been at the game with them, but we're consistently talking like we do go to the game together. You know, we're having virtual beers and talking about the match. We done some virtual watch-alongs as well during the USA games in the summer. So whilst we were playing late at nights, we'd stay up late and we'd kind of have the chat and that on the go and have some beers and chat. So yeah, we are looking to do lots more meetups in the year ahead, but it tends to be kind of split out to the kind of local areas as well.
No, that's great stuff, mate. It's always good to see fans get together around the world. I mean, obviously Mitch and the lads do it in Dubai as well. It's fantastic, and then people building up these, different supporters groups, to support our club. So you're on Facebook. Are you on anything else? Are you on X? Are you on LinkedIn? Where else can people find the supporters group, Taylor?
We're largely driven on Facebook, so it is that kind of Facebook community. We do have plans. I've got a personal account on X. I'm not so great with Twitter and the uses of it. So yeah, we are largely based on Facebook at the minute. So come and check us out. I know Steve, you put the link in the group, but we are kind of looking to break out into Twitter and stuff over the next year as well.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Okay, good stuff. We'll give the group a plug a little bit later. Obviously, Newcastle United is our shared passion. First question, what have you made of the season so far, Taylor?
I think in the grand scheme of things, considering the injuries, considering we had the Champions League, we had the toughest group in there, I don't think it's been a bad season. I don't think it's been as bad as folks think, or that we've seen kind of quoted in the media and the press. The league position maybe doesn't look as generous as last season, maybe a few points shorter than we had on the board last season, but we didn't have the kind of injury crisis that we have this season as well. So I don't think it's been as bad. I also think that some of the fixtures we've got coming up are probably a bit more favourable as well. So we've got boys that we know are potentially coming back from injury, but some of those fixtures coming up ahead as well look a little bit more pleasant. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's been a disastrous season. I think it's been challenging, but I also potentially think there's an element of to how well Eddie had them playing last season. He had them playing extra levels. They were playing levels above potentially where they were last season. And then this season, getting those consistent levels as well is going to be a little bit more difficult when you've got games midweek, then jumping on back at the weekend, then you chuck the injuries in. So yeah, I don't think it's been a disaster, but yeah, I think there's probably some opportunities. There's been some dropped points, but yeah, I still think we've got a positive, and I think if we can go on a good run from here out to the end of the season, I don't think Champions League's off the table, and I certainly don't think Europe's off the table for us yet either.
I mean, you mentioned the injury situation. It's been a freak season. I've never known a season like this, not only for Newcastle, but for any team to suffer as many injuries. Is your mindset towards the fact that we've played extra games? Do you think, I mean, Eddie Howe came out in his press conference last weekend and said, it's a collective responsibility. We're all to blame. He seemed to point towards work that had potentially been done in the gym. Maybe that's the recovery. You can't really put a finger on it, can you, as to why we've had so many this season?
It's interesting you mentioned the recovery there because, has our physiotherapist not just moved on?
Yes.
So I think he's on extended maternity leave, which, understandable. Somebody's a kid, needs an extra couple of weeks off. You don't know what's going on. That's totally fine. But the fact that he's then moved on after that extended paternity leave as well, I don't know if there's something in that, but it certainly feels like we've only got space for one striker on the fitness table at a time, right? Because it's like a one in, one out system at the minute. So yeah, there's potentially something in that recovery and that physiotherapy space that's just not quite right, because the amount of injuries are, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's the type of injuries we've had as well, of course. I mean, just injuries you would never get, but the length of time that those players have been out, it's been absolutely crazy. And that Wilson now, missing, Isak potentially, missing today at least. Hopefully be back next week. But it is frustrating. The other big story this week, other than Callum Wilson's injury, which is going to keep him out for 9 to 12 weeks, has been Dan Ashworth. What have you made of that situation? Will he stay or will he go?
It's unusual, isn't it? Normally the speculation's about football players, not about kind of sporting directors or these kind of guys in the higher boardroom positions. And it's a little bit of a shame as well, because they're potentially going to take the focus off the game this week. You know, that'll potentially be a bit of chat, and hopefully the players don't pay any notice to it and they just crack on as usual. But it is a bit of a strange one. You would think for Dan Ashworth to get the best out of his role at Newcastle, and Newcastle will get the best out of Dan Ashworth, that would be a bit of a project. Kind of 4 or 5 years you'd be looking at coming in, having a bit of a strategy, a bit of a plan. So for Dan Ashworth to be looking to move on so quick, and for Newcastle to kind of be, yeah, we're open to that idea so quick. I think there's maybe something going on under the surface. There might be a bit more than what we just think. But potentially, it's a good way of getting around the FFP. I've seen someone 21 million was his release clause for Dan Ashworth. Now I've seen someone else that they're looking to pay 6 million. Is that potentially something that can help us with FFP as well? If we get a few quid in for Dan Ashworth, if he wants to go, is he the right man to be there anyway, if his head's been turned by Man United? So yeah, I think it's a bit of a strange one, but if he doesn't want to be there, then yeah, let him go. Let's get some cash in for him, and let's actually get somebody in that does want to be there.
I did like what Roy Keane had said last night. I'll quote Roy Keane here. Talking about Dan Ashworth, he said, he doesn't hang around, does he? I'm not sure loyalty is on the top of his list. He left Brighton for Newcastle, and now, in only 2 years, he's jumping to join United. You have to look at that side of the personality as well. No doubt he is brilliant at his job, but who's to say in a year and a half he might want to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona? And when Roy Keane speaks, Manchester United fans listen. Maybe that's changed their perception slightly. I've noticed certainly on X over the course of the last 7 days, Man United fans celebrating as if they've bought Shearer again, Taylor. But might not be the dream signing they want, because I sat down prior to doing the Amigos this week and just tried to work out what exactly Dan Ashworth had brought us. And I could only really come up with Tonali and a couple of youngsters. I couldn't really say that he facilitated anything major that has turned us around. Maybe we'll see the fruits of his labour in the future. Maybe Yankuba Minteh might become one of the greatest strikers in the world, and you know that the small fee that Newcastle paid for him will be, you know, will reap the benefits and end up with £100 million striker on our hands. But I'm not so sure. And I think it's much ado about nothing. I'm not as disappointed to hear that he might go, and I agree with Eddie Howe and what he said in his press conference yesterday. You know, then he'd like this sorted out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because it's obviously impacting Eddie as well. You know, if Eddie's got transfer targets for the summer, if there's business that needs to be done, he wants to be kind of addressing those and getting things lined up, getting his ducks in a row beforehand. So if there's been planning and preparation going on behind the scenes, and now Dan Ashworth's looking to go, then that's going to obviously unsettle that as well. So yeah, I'm sure Eddie would like it sorted out. Interesting when you mention that you feel like kind of Dan Ashworth is a couple of youngsters. So you mentioned Yankuba Minteh there. And obviously we've got Garan Kuol as well, who'd kind of been out on loan on Hearts and never really hit the ground running there as well. Didn't get as much game time as he probably should have. But yeah, the two of those guys look really good, really promising. Positional awareness is probably something that lets Minteh down a bit. I know that's been spoken about. But the Tonali deal, you know, Tonali does look like a player. Not the kind of player I thought we were getting when I seen him. I think he looks a bit more of a link-up player than I originally thought. I thought we were going to get that kind of protector that would sit back, spread the ball about. But yeah, you've got to kind of question the due diligence around that deal. Whether anybody could have known, should have known, did know. Yeah, I think that'll probably come into question at times as well. And maybe there's something in that, because it was a lot of money we paid for Tonali, right? Between Tonali and Barnes, and we couldn't predict Barnes getting injured, but between Tonali and Barnes, we spent a lot of money, probably the chunk of our budget, and then to not have Tonali available for a whole year, it's a real blow.
No, it is. No doubt about it. It's a good point you make about Tonali as well. I mean, he could be a star player. He looks world class. But yeah, you know, he was Milan's best player. You know, international as well. So hopefully we will reap the benefits from that particular deal should Dan Ashworth go. Current players, the big debate last week, or the week before, I should say, and it has been over the course of the last month, I would guess, is the Dan Burn situation, left back. Where do you stand on that? You know, I think last week I expected Dan Burn to play. I know a lot of people were thinking Livramento would have started, but Newcastle went away. They got a valuable 3 points on the road. And I thought Dan Burn had another good game. He fits the style that Eddie wants to play. He fits the high press. He's used to it now, and the same back four was almost unbreakable last year. So nothing really changes in the space of a few months. You don't suddenly become a bad player, but teams will start to work out your pattern of play and try to find the weakness. But where do you stand on Dan Burn? Are you still happy to see him for that left back role, or would you like to see Livramento given a chance, or would you like to see a left back player there like Paul Dummett?
I think the big picture. So long term, we need a left back. We need an out and out left back. During the summer, I was screaming for Keaton Tierney because I thought he'd run through brick walls for Eddie Howe. Unfortunately, he's went to Sociedad and he's ended up injured again. So it's just one of them. A bit like Woodgate, great player. Had all the potential if it weren't for the injuries. Dan Burn though playing left back. Now I'm not a Dan Burn critic. I'm not Dan Burn's biggest fan. I probably sit somewhere in the middle of the fence. For me, he's not a natural left back. He was asked, he can play there, but he was asked to go out and do a shift, and he done that shift, and he done it well. He's then found himself playing left back more regularly. Now, for a big guy, he gets about the pitch pretty quick. He's great in the air, and he does get up and down the pitch pretty quick. For me, though, he's probably the Achilles heel is when he gets caught on the turn. So when he's up against somebody with a bit of pace, he's probably right up the top of the pitch and he gets caught on the turn. It's that acceleration to get back. So I think that's probably where his Achilles heel is. And saying that, I think at times this season he's probably been a bit let down in terms of the protection that he should have had. So if we're asking the wing backs to get right up the pitch and do that support piece, do the overlaps, then you need to have that protection there. And I think at times as well, Dan Burn's probably been let down with the protection that he should have had and he's not had. But yeah, there's also an element in it for me that I think long term we need that out and out left back, that quality player that can get up and down that pitch with that pace, get the balls in, do the defensive duties as well. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and criticise Dan Burn because I think, as I say, that would be my only criticism, that he's turned on the pace. But I think everything he's been asked to do, he's come in and done. He's been up against PSG this season, AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal, guys like Saka. And you're right, Steve. Teams are now starting to try to pinpoint that, and that will be their focus, is let him get up the pitch, hit him with the pace on the turn, and try and get down that side and expose it. But yeah, you're right. It was one of Europe's best defences last season, and Dan Burn was as much as a part of that as Fabian Schär was, as Sven Botman was, as Kieran Trippier was. So yeah, you don't turn into a bad player overnight. We just need to give him a bit more protection and maybe just review what support he's getting when he's up against the top player with some top pace.
Okay, we're halfway through the show. Time for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Go to their website, skipsandbins.com. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Go to their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. Go to their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com or phone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. They're a local company from Morpeth and there are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button under the video. Click the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. If you want to help the channel financially, you can pay a one-off £25 fee. You get a cup, a scarf, a pen and a membership card and entry into the NUFC Matters monthly draw. Email john@nufcmatters.com for more details, or if you've got a smartphone, scan the QR code now and it takes you straight to the membership pack. We also support the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you'll find the matchday bucket. You can make a donation virtually today. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify and other podcast providers. We also do events during the year. NUFC Matters Live will be at the O2 City Hall on Friday the 2nd of August for an evening with Rob Lee, one night in Antwerp. Tickets start at £15 and you can get them from Ticketmaster An evening with the entertainers takes place on Friday, the 24th of January 2025 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle. Telephone 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk to buy tickets today. You can also catch me on the North East Footy Breakfast Show live on Toon Radio weekdays 7 till 9 a.m. on DAB, smart speakers and the ToonUK.com.
And don't forget, we have got our end of season do planned. July the 20th. It is a Saturday night, 5 o'clock till late. We've got Ask George live on the stage. We've got Super Matt and Gibbo live Q&A, Stannington live music. It's a tenner a ticket. You can go to either NUFCmatters.com or NewcastleLegends.com and buy your tickets. Should be a cracking do that. Get yourselves down there. Be nice to meet a lot of you face to face. And we will be raising money for the food bank that day as well. And if you're at the match today, there will be Gibbo and Ando, 1 o'clock at the Irish Centre. Free entry. And if you've got kids, they are very welcome as well. And we had a full house there at the last home game. Cracking stuff. Great music. Oasis, Madness, The Jam, Buzzcock, Stone Roses. You get the vibe. Get yourselves in. And we always finish off the last half hour with a few Newcastle United anthems to get you in the spirit and get you ready to sing your heart out for the lads at St. James's Park. So FFP is blighted our season as well, because no real business done in the January transfer window. It has to be said by everybody, Taylor. Of course, everybody seems to be very, very cautious about what they spend and what they don't spend now because of these rules. Haven't seen the punishment meted out to Everton in particular so far. But in an ideal world, Newcastle should have some money to spend, you would imagine, in the summer. Where would you like to see Newcastle strengthen?
I think there's quite a bit we probably need to be in the summer. As I've already mentioned, the left back, I'll probably not mill on that point anymore, but I think probably we need to strengthen in there. Do we need another goalkeeper? So in reality, I'm pretty chuffed with the three keepers we've got. I think Drabaka come back in, and bit of lack of confidence there, maybe just a bit of lack of link up between him and the back four. But he's made some good saves. He's starting to find his groove again. I think Nick Pope's a great shot stopper, but potentially distribution with his feet not as good. And I think Karius is a great backup as well. I know his confidence was certainly shot, but he come back in when he's been asked, and he's done what he's been asked to do. I think if you're going to take it to that next step and evolve, as teams like Man City do, though, do we need one of these goalkeepers that play out from the back? It's probably up for debate. A centre back, we probably need an understudy for Fabian Schär as well, so somebody that can come in and provide that bit of cover. A bit like what we've done with Tino and Trips, have them come in as an understudy, learn from the experience. So I think I'd like to see a centre back come in as well. Someone in the middle of the pitch that can protect the back four. So Bruno has the tools in his locker. Bruno can score. Bruno can shoot. He can do that. That is definitely within his gift. And sometimes it feels like he's either protecting the stats or Eddie says to him, look, don't shoot. Just make sure we get it into the box, because that's the game plan for the day. But Bruno has those tools in his locker. So I'd like to see Bruno pushed up a bit and somebody else come in and give the defence a bit of that support to kind of free Bruno up to get into that attacking mode. And we need a striker. We need a striker that can play more than half a season and can get us 20 plus goals. I think if you can get somebody in that's going to bang you in 20 goals a season, and then you've got the likes of Isak who can come in and complement it, because I don't think Isak's an out-and-out centre forward, but he's got the scope. And God love Callum Wilson. He could have potentially been up there with one of our greatest ever strikers, but for the love of, again, these injuries. So for me, it's a left back, centre back, someone in the middle of the park, somebody at the top. So it's really that core spine of the team, right? And if you look at Liverpool a few years ago, they done it. They went out and got themselves a top goalkeeper. They went out and got Alisson. They went out and they bought Van Dijk. They went out and they fixed that spine of the team. And then, they had great success on the back end. So I think that's probably where we need to tweak, as just bringing a bit of support for that. And we need 20 goals a season, Steve. What do you think?
I personally agree. I mean, it's always about the spine. I do think we need another goalkeeper to back Nick Pope up. He's in his 30s. He's had not one but two shoulder dislocations. And I think ultimately, we do need somebody in there as backup. Dubravka's done okay, but he was on the decline before Pope came in. So would I be disappointed if with FFP we had to strengthen other areas, not the goalkeeper, and go in next season with those two? I wouldn't be disappointed, but I do think at some point we're going to need to improve that situation. I think you're right on the left back. I still think we need to bring somebody in left back. If you look at our back four, you know, we've got 3 of those players who we would consider our strongest back four. 4, if you're going to consider Lascelles now, because he's been very valuable this season, they're all the wrong side of 30. We've only got Sven Botman, who, you know, is an age where we're going to get, you know, another 5, 6, 7 potential years out of him if he stays. So the back four is a major concern because those players aren't going to go on forever. It's impossible in the Premiership, which statistically is getting faster each season. So for me, the goalkeeper and the back four is what we need to look at. Midfield, I think we've got more than enough in midfield if we can keep a hold of those players at the moment to get through maybe this season, next season, and the season after. If we didn't make changes, got to bear in mind Tonali, that old phrase, but he's going to be like a new player. So that leaves up front where you need major reinforcement. I am convinced that Isak's, I do believe Isak's world class. I am convinced he's got to have at least one season where he's not going to, perform as if he's made of fiberglass and get through it. And we get a full season out of him where he gets 20-odd goals. But that means that we're weak up front. We need one minimum, probably need another 2, because we can't go into next season relying on Callum Wilson and Isak to get through it again. Wilson's great. I agree with you. I mean, his stats have got him 3rd in the all-time greatest goal scorers in Newcastle's career, in his career. But, he's the wrong side of 30. He's 32, isn't he, this year? And you're not gonna win anything with those kind of players, holding down the shirts. And you've got other players in and around that squad who are out on loan who are, they're depriving us of going out and becoming a better team because they're drawing a wage and they're not playing for Newcastle United. You've got Isaac Hayden, you've got Ryan Fraser, you've got Jeff Hendrick. You've got players there who, will never play for Newcastle United again. And, obviously when their contracts come to an end, that solves that problem. But it is restricting us, and that is the frustrating thing. But in the summer, we need a goal scorer. We need a striker. We need a centre forward. Whatever you want to, whatever we bring in, we need something like that. And whether it's a Ferguson from Brighton, whether it's an Adebayo from Luton Town, whether it's an Ivan Toney from Brentford, that's the caliber of, we need somebody who's playing regularly in the Premier League. In a dream scenario, an Osherman would be fantastic. But that I think that has been probably collectively on NUFC Matters. A lot of us would just love to see Osherman in a black and white shirt. But if we've got to get somebody younger who is currently plying their trade in the Premier League, Solanke, again linked with Newcastle because of his relationship with Eddie Howe and the fact that he took him to Bournemouth, and he was asked about it yesterday. But yeah, we need somebody who can come straight into that team and hit the ground running. And we've also got to hope that the youngsters that are coming through, and that in our academy is improving. We need to see improvement. The big disappointment for me, Taylor, is the fact that we haven't got anybody in the under 21s who is scoring goals. We've seen Lewis Miley come to the forefront from the younger age bracket, but we've got nobody in the 21s, and I think that just shows there's been a lack of investment, and there's been a lack of good players coming through our academy, and that's not something you can change overnight. So, and that would save you money, Taylor.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting point you make about the academy, because we did see a bit of investment there in the summer. The guys like Leo Shar and stuff coming in. Now the guys that are coming in, they are young lads, right? So they're just boys that are kind of going to apply their trade and start developing. But I think that's a shift. So you mentioned Ivan Toney, and it'd be interesting because Newcastle will still be due a bit of a change from Peterborough on that. So if he does move on, we'll be due a chunk of change. But we probably need to get a bit smarter at that, and we are getting a bit better. When we sell players, these young lads, that we're inserting these things that Man City do. So the mandatory sell on percentage fee, also the option to buy the player back. Man City are quite good doing that. So if they sell a guy for £1 million, they'll maybe stick in a fee that they can buy him back for 15 million if he does well, right? We need to start getting smarter, because some guys have went on and done really, really well that have left Newcastle. maybe wasn't their time when they were at us. So guys like Mikel Moreno, Ivan Toney as well. You know, there's been loads over the years. But we are starting to invest in the academy, and you can see that. But you're right, Steve. None of them are probably ready to come through in the next season. So Minte's out on loan. We've got Kua out on loan. Are any of them ready to step up next season? Yeah, I don't know. They'll probably come back and be reviewed in the summer. But yeah, if you look at that under-21 team that goes out at the weekends and stuff, there's nobody in there that you can potentially say they're banging on the door. I know we've had a few guys make appearances off the bench. So I think the last time we played Bournemouth, Ben Parkinson come on, and we had a couple of other young lads come on as well. But yeah, how many of them are ready to take a step up to the next team? So it's about the quality of the youngsters that are coming through as well. That probably goes for the quality, the coaching and development they're getting. So we know that area has not been invested in under previous ownership, and the new ownership are investing. But it's probably going to take a few years to start seeing the fruits of that labour, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It takes time, massive amounts of time for that kind of thing to develop. But yeah, transfer window in the summer, it won't be closed for Newcastle. I'm sure they'll do some business. New stadium is another one that I like to ask people coming on from from supporters groups. Obviously, at the moment it's a full house at St James's Park. Season tickets are fully taken up. Corporate areas are more or less full. A selection of tickets go on sale for the ballot. So yeah, new stadium first and foremost. Would you like to see Newcastle stay at St James's Park and build on what they've got already, or would you like to see Newcastle, potentially look at moving? It may well be that they try to move to Leazes Park, and it's only a stone's throw away, literally a pebbles throw away from the area. But what would you like to see happen?
I think everybody's got their view on this. I think as an outsider from Newcastle, Steve, I think that's one of the things that's unique about the city for me, is the fact that the stadium is in slap bang in the city centre. Everybody gets a bit of the match day buzz. So if you're going for your haircut, if you're going to Greg's for a sausage roll, if you're going into Strawberry for a beer, everybody gets a bit of that buzz, that match day buzz, and everybody gets a bit of that kind of income and revenue as well. So I know you're talking about potential to move kind of a stone's throw away, but if that wasn't on the table, and they were potentially looking to move further out of the city, then I think it could potentially have real impacts. Because for me, that's one of the beautiful things about Newcastle, is you come in, you've got St James's Park slap bang in the middle of the town, and it's unique. It's also the history of St James's Park as well. If we create a new stadium, yeah, it'll be modern, we'll get more folks in there. But I think we've probably got to start looking at what can be done with St James's Park first to try and increase that capacity before they potentially look to build a new stadium. Now, we have heard Daniel Levy come out and say that, if Tottenham hadn't moved stadium, they wouldn't have been able to kind of have the revenues that they can produce. So is that part of the evolution for Newcastle, that we need to have one of these more modern stadiums? I don't know. I think it'll certainly be in the pipeline longer term, but I think in the shorter term, we've seen the fan surveys and stuff come out where they were asking, I think it was a bit like Chelsea, right? Would you like a bed in the stands where you can lie down and watch a football match? All this corporate stuff. That feels like the way it's going. But for me personally, no, I don't think we need a new stadium yet. I'd like to see St James's Park increased to what it can be increased first, and then take it from there, Steve.
Yeah, I understand. I understand about that, mate. And I think the ticketing side of things as well, that was something that really caused an issue at the start of the season. People were up a height. The ballot. Do you think there's any fairer way of doing the ballot system?
It's difficult. I enter the ballot for every game. You get some success. Sometimes you don't get success. And you hear stories as well. So I know of a guy that sat in the same seat for the Paris Saint-Germain game at home, and he got that in a ballot, and he sat at the same seat for the home game in the Premier League before it. So you kind of wonder as to how random that actually is. But it swings and roundabouts. You'll not maybe get in a ballot for 4 or 5 games, and then you will. I think the hard thing with it though is planning, and that's one of the things that we've said is, so we were looking to get the supporters bus on this season, coming down on the regular, but the ballot kind of changed things, so it allows you less time to plan for a game. You're maybe getting a few weeks' notice as to whether you've been successful or not. If you're then not successful, you try to buy them in the resale, and that can be hit and miss as well. You're consistently checking and refreshing every day, to the point where your IP address gets banned and you can't go on the website anymore because you've refreshed that much. I don't know if there's a fairer way to do it, but I think over the course of the season, I think it irons itself out. If you enter every ballot, you'll get your fair share over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, some people will get tickets, other people won't. I struggle to find, a good system really that Newcastle can bring in. I think this is where increasing the capacity is probably the best thing, and I think they are looking at things. They're looking at feasibility tests. I think building on the Gallagher end would probably bring you 6,500, 7,000 extra supporters in. Then it's what you do with the East Stand. And, once upon a time, there was an issue with the buildings behind the East Stand, talk of not being able to do anything and listed buildings, etc., playing the part, led to believe now that the buildings behind the East Stand are owned by a Saudi businessman. You would imagine there could be something that could be done with them, but you would still have to incorporate the front fascia of those buildings into any new building at the East Stand. But I'd like to see them stay at St James's Park. It'll be interesting to see what the feasibility, studies and surveys brings back. And I think once we hear from Newcastle about what that's been, what's developed from that, I think we'll have a clear idea what they're going to do. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What happens. Okay, we are going to look ahead to today's game. Newcastle take on Bournemouth, and it's a 3:00 kickoff, so no live TV coverage for this one if you're outside of the area and not able to get to the game today. Those of you who will remember last season, both games ended 1-1. We've already played Bournemouth this season, of course, at the Vitality Stadium. We lost 2-0. We have beaten Bournemouth 1-0 at St James's Park in the Carabao Cup in December 2022. But Eddie Howe does tend to struggle against Bournemouth in the Eddie Howe derby. We are without a victory in our last 3 Premier League home games. The last time we went 4 without a win at St James's Park was 21-22. We went winless in 7 in that little run as well. You will have seen Eddie Howe's press conference by now. Callum Wilson, it was spoke about earlier on in the show, is the latest addition to this never-ending injury list. He's going to be out for up to 3 months with a pectoral injury. Joe Willock, Alexander Isak, Elliot Anderson are all getting close to return, but are not expected to play today. Jacob Murphy was on the bench against Notts Forest last weekend, but he was unable to feature because he picked up a calf injury, and he hasn't trained all week. So hopefully he will at least figure in Eddie Howe's plans this week. And of course, Nick Pope, Matt Targett, Sandro Tonali, Joe Linton are all out. Don't forget, there is the threat of a ban hanging over Bruno Guimaraes. He needs 1 more yellow card, and he'll be on the sidelines for 2 games. And Anthony Gordon is only 2 yellow cards away from suffering the same fate. How's Bournemouth shaping up for today's game? Well, Philip Billing is suspended. There are fitness checks and doubts over Hill, Fredericks, Adams and Aarons for Bournemouth as well. Ahead of the trip to Tyneside today, Bournemouth took on Fulham last weekend and lost 3-1, extending their winless run in the Premier League to 5 games. The Cherries have won 4 times on the road so far this season. They are a team to be wary of. They beat Sheffield United 3-1, Crystal Palace 2-0, Manchester United at Old Trafford 3-0, Notts Forest 3-2. They got draws at Brentford 2-2, West Ham 1-1. They've had 6 other away games and they have all ended in defeat. As for the referee today, well, it's Michael Salisbury. He is from Preston. This is his first Newcastle game of the season. And on VAR, it is Rob Jones. We didn't manage to get Toon Stato last night on the Amigos as it was pre-recorded on Thursday. So here is what he had to say.
Hello with the stats before Newcastle Bournemouth tomorrow at St James's Park. Eddie Howe has faced Bournemouth 3 times in the league and he doesn't have a win. We drew 2 times last season and we lost 2-0 at Bournemouth earlier this season. Of course, we won last year in the League Cup at St James's Park 1-0. But in the league, there's a peculiar statistic that Newcastle managers don't do well against their previous clubs. Only 1 win in the past 13 games for Rafa Benitez against Chelsea back in May 2018. For Newcastle, the entertainers are truly back. 51 goals scored after 24 games. The last time Newcastle scored more than 50 goals in the similar amount of games was back in 1960-1961 top flight season, when they scored more than 50 goals in the first 23 games. However, when it comes to conceding goals, when Martin Dubravka is behind the goal, Newcastle have conceded every 43 minutes at St. James's Park, while with Nick Pope, the ratio is 1 goal every 131 minutes. Bournemouth are in a great goal-scoring run of form away from home. They have scored in 8 consecutive top-flight games for the first time in their history. And of course, their main man is Dominic Solanke, who has 15 goal contributions with 13 goals scored and 2 assists. So let's see what will happen tomorrow when 2 free-scoring teams are meeting. And let's hope we keep our momentum against the Cherries, since after losing the 2 first home games against them at St. James's Park, we are without a defeat in the last 3, 2 wins and 1 draw. How are the lads?
Great stuff, Andrea. Thanks very much for doing that as always. So yes, Taylor, you know, we don't tend to perform well against Bournemouth since Eddie Howe came into the club. Always tight games. Newcastle, of course, already lost to them 2-0 this season. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think it could be a difficult one. It could be another one of these kind of gritty draws. But I'm going to back us today. I'm going to go for 3-1. I think we'll be looking to get a bit of payback from the last time. And I think as long as we can keep Solanke quiet, you know, yeah, I think we could win 3-1 today. I think it'd be interesting as well that, you know, we've seen Gordon playing up top, and Isak and Wilson's absence. But we've actually got Barnes back now as well. So I wonder if there's someone that could be a bit more fluid. I'd like to see maybe Barnes going up top and giving it a go, see how he gets on. If it's not working, you've always got that option to interlink him and Gordon. So switch it up a bit. And similarly on the wings as well. I think when Miggy's getting no joy down one side and maybe Gordon's getting no joy the other side, I'd like to see them being a bit more fluid and switching up the wings a bit as well. But yeah, I'm backing us for a 3-1 win today. I think Harvey Barnes is going to burst the back of the net. And I think Longstaff will get on the score sheet. As for the third, I'm not so sure. But yeah, I'm backing us for a win today, Steve.
It's interesting you say Gordon up front. I think lots of people feel that that's what is going to happen. But I wouldn't be remiss to having Harvey Barnes up there. And when he's fit, Joe Willock. I think a lot of people forget when Joe Willock came to Newcastle originally on loan. He went on that wonderful goal scoring run, 7 goals in 7 games coming from back. But the good thing is we're going to have a few options. But I think your fluidity statement there is quite a good one. You know, just changing things around. You know, you've got the likes of Miggy Almiron, Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes who can interchange and create difficulties for defenders.
Yeah, and it needs to be as well. So when things are not working, and you know, I'll take it back to that Southampton game where I took my daughter to her first game. I remember Miggy getting a torrid time. I think the guy's name's Saliba that plays at the back for Southampton. Big, strong guy. Miggy couldn't get any joy. And those are the exact opportunities where it's like, you're getting no joy down that right-hand side. Switch him up to the left and give Gordon a shot of running at him. You know, a bit more physicality and stuff. And I think, yeah, we need to start incorporating that into the game plan, actually. Things ain't working. We're going to change this up. Barnes up top. Gordon onto the left or the right, and just switch it up. Just have a bit more fluidity, and it probably makes us a little bit less predictable as well. You know, if we're going to change it up, then teams don't know what's coming at them. They don't know they're going to have Miggy running at them for 90 minutes. So yeah, I'd like a bit more fluidity and a bit more bravery at times as well. Actually, things ain't working here. Let's not be scared to change it and go and have a pop.
What would your team be today, Tom? I mean, I think it picks itself more or less today, doesn't it? Especially with the lack of striking options. I think the Dan Burns situation was answered last week. I think the back four will be the same. I think it'll be Dubravka. I think you'll have Trippier in there with Fabian Schär, Botman, and Dan Burn. I guess the big question is what he does in the midfield. Well, of course, you know, you're going to have Bruno and Miley, aren't you? You know, it's how he sets up today. Is Murphy going to be fit? Is he going to go with Almiron? Is he going to go with Harvey Barnes? You know, what is he going to do? He's going to play one up front. He's probably going to play Gordon through the middle. It's just how your midfield sets up, isn't it? Because, you know, there's 1 or 2 options which have been taken away from us through injury. So, you know, I guess it's the midfield that you could answer, Taylor.
I think the midfield's kind of speaking for itself as well. Big Joe's out now. I think whilst he's out, they need to be getting his contract sorted ASAP. So if Ashworth does move on, he don't come sniffing for Big Joe, because that would just be criminal. So we need to get Big Joe done up. We've got Tonali, who we've spoke about, is out. I think it's probably potential. You might see Joe Willock or even Elliot Anderson make the bench today. I don't think either of them will make the first team, but I think we might start to see those guys hitting the bench again. We know they've been back in training, they're getting closer and closer. But yeah, I think the midfield is going to be Longstaff, Bruno and Miley again. And Miley as well, arguably at times, has been our best player this season. So in some of those, when we had that real injury crisis and we were up against some tougher teams earlier when we were still in the Champions League, he's looked our best player at times up against some top teams. So yeah, I think Miley's a shoe-in for today as well. The concern is though that with those injuries in the middle of the park, suspensions, etc., that if we had a fully fit team, would Miley start every game? And I'm not saying that he shouldn't, but I'm more thinking for his development. You know, we've seen it before with young football players that play in lots and lots and lots of games. They can get burnt out and, you know, have shorter kind of careers and stuff. So, yeah, I think we just need to protect Miley as well and make sure that we don't overload him, don't overburn him. But, yeah, what a player he's turning into be.
Yep, his dudeness says, hopefully Trippier goes into midfield when we have the ball like he did last week. Let's Bruno push up the field. Yeah, it was very noticeable that. Yeah, Ian, you're probably right, mate. It is fairly predictable. But yeah, there's hopefully going to be a few more options over the course of the next couple of weeks. Alan, lovely message this. He went, morning, Stephen Taylor. We've had some great players from Scotland. John McNamee, Bob Moncur, Jinky Smith, but the best for me, Tony Green. Yeah, great relationship, hasn't it, over the years with Newcastle United and some wonderful Scottish players that we've seen. Probably in Mark McGee, you can put him down there in you know, in the 90s. They didn't do so well in the 70s, but when he came back in the 90s with Mickey Quinn, he formed a formidable partnership.
Yep, yeah, you're 100% did. We've also had a few others as well. So Stephen Glass,
great lad.
He's in managing now as well. We've had Duncan Ferguson. You know, how could you forget Duncan Ferguson, right? What fantastic. I just shared the goal the other day that he scored against Man United. He turns and just hits it sweet on the volley. Fantastic player. And what a guy and character he is as well. And guys like Kevin Gallagher as well. So yeah, we've had a few Scotsmen that have joined us over the years, and some great ones too, as you just mentioned.
Proud Scotsman, obviously. Would you like to see Elliot Anderson pulling on the blue?
Yeah, I hope it's not. I hope it's not off the cards. But he did get kind of the called up to the squad, and then there was a bit of a mystery injury that seen him return back to St James's Park, and then he ended up appearing in the squad at the weekend. So I hope Southgate's not managed to persuade him yet, because yeah, Elliot's a cracking player.
Yeah, Anthony Gordon being linked as well, Tino as well. So you never know. You may get one of the lads going up there, and it's up to John Carver, I think, and Steve Clark to persuade them, isn't it?
The world's greatest coach has got the opportunity to try and persuade these guys to come up. So come on, John, get your stuff done.
He's a top lad, JC, top lad. Okay, we've reached the end of the show. Just a quick plug again, mate. Where can we find details of the Newcastle United Scotland supporters?
Yep, so you can come and check us out on Facebook, NUSS, Newcastle United Scotland supporters. Steve shared our badge there as well. So yeah, great community, doing lots of great stuff for charity and just chatting tune all day, every day, 365 days a year. We don't stop, we don't sleep. So come and check us out.
Great stuff. Absolute pleasure to have you on. We'll get you back on as well at some point, Taylor. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week with Nobby. But for now, enjoy the game, mate. Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, guys.